Open heart, open mind. A warm welcome to the Sattva channel, which is an official online platform of the Sattva project. Myself, Samiksha Meshram,
And I'm Sanika Gupta.
and we both are from the Sattva Youth, bringing Dharma to you and bridging Dharma with youth. Sattva Youth is a Buddhist youth program initiated by the Sattva project. And before we start our session, happy day to everyone. May the full moon of the Buddha Purnima takes away the darkness of ignorance, bigotry, and hatred towards others, and may it herald an era of contentment, peace, and enlightenment for the world. Heartiest greetings on this pious occasion of Buddha Purnima. Before we start with our discussion, first of all, on the behalf of the Sattva project, let me thanks to our streamer sponsor and media partners, Durian Asian and Durian FM, for their constant and kind support. And there is one more person who manages all the technicalities in the background, Brother Ray. Brother Ray, would you like to say hi to your audience, please?
Hello, happy Visa Day. Thanks for joining us today. Please like and share this video with more people. If you're watching this later on YouTube, do subscribe to our channel, like and share the video. Now back to you.
Thank you. So tonight we are going to have a guided Zen meditation by Myong An Sunim, Peace in Each Moment. So it's an always honor to have meditation session by Sunim. Sitting quietly at home, spreading love and kindness all around the globe. We are going to have first a short talk, then meditation, question and answer, and then short dedication prayer.
Myong An Sunim was born to a Chinese family in Malaysia in 1959. He received his education in the UK, culminating with an MBA, and worked in finance. Sunim met his teacher, Zen Master Songshan, in 1992. He became a monk in 1997 and spent the subsequent 16 years in Korea on intensive Zen retreats. He received Inca, the authority to lead retreats and teach Kongans, in 2015. Sunim has over 30 years of meditation experience and teaches in Penang and internationally. His teaching approach combines the wisdom of ancient teachers with the science of meditation to arrive at ways of practice that are well suited to our contemporary lifestyle. It's an honor to have you here today.
Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me to join your talk, and thank you for the very kind introduction. So tonight we begin with meditation, and I'd like to highlight one aspect of our practice, which is equanimity. So if we can remind ourselves of this during our meditation practice tonight, I think it would be very helpful. So equanimity is a quality of impartiality, a kind of quality of acceptance in our mind. We can sometimes think of it as space, able to hold everything. So when we practice equanimity, our minds are calmer and we do not react as easily to external things. Sometimes equanimity is confused with this kind of don't care attitude or kind of indifference. It's not really that. Indifference is more like pulling away and shutting off. So instead, equanimity is about a quality of openness and acceptance to whatever experience that may appear during practice. And one way that we can help ourselves to develop this quality of equanimity is to use mental noting during our practice. So you can, when we begin a meditation, you can mentally note your breath. When you breathe in, just note in, out with a gentle tone. So let's begin and try that, and I'll guide you through the first couple of minutes, and then I'll be quiet, and then you can practice it on your own. So find a comfortable, upright position for yourself, one that's alert and relaxed. Close your eyes, or if you like to keep them open, then open them just a little bit and gaze downwards. Begin by noticing your breath, the sensation of breathing, and just settle into this breath. Allowing your breath to breathe itself, allowing the breath to set its own rhythm. And when you breathe in, just silently and gently note in. Then when you breathe out, out. So in, out, in, out. And if you find yourself caught up with thoughts, then you can mentally note thinking, thinking. Then come back to your breath. In, out, in, out. You don't have to do this mental noting all the time. Only when you need to and find it helpful. You like to be more specific, so if you have emotions appearing, you can note feeling, or anger, fear. Then return to your breath again. In, out, in, out. So just try this for the next 20 minutes or so as we practice. Don't worry if you find your mind has wandered off or has gotten distracted by thoughts. Try using the mental noting and then bring yourself back to your breath again. It's not a problem, and it's not a mistake when your mind wanders. It's perfectly normal. Just allow your awareness to rest on the breath. Breathing in, breathing out. Breathing in, breathing out. So see if you can bring this sense of equanimity, the sense of acceptance and openness into your daily life, and see if that helps you as you face any challenges or any difficulties as you go through your daily activities. When you're ready, open your eyes and start to recognize your room again. Thank you for your practice. Okay, so now we're going to progress to the talk, the Dharma talk section, and it's about peace in each moment. So, peace, we all like to live in a peaceful world where we can go about our daily activities without violence, without conflict, because violence and conflict brings a lot of suffering and stress to our lives. So when I was a young teenager, my friends, family, and I used to watch this Miss Universe pageant. I don't know if they still have it, but used to be very popular in those days for everyone to watch. Then there are few sections to this thing, and in one section, the MC would ask the contestants certain questions, and one of them would be this: like this MC would ask, "Oh, Miss Malaysia, if you could have only one wish, what would you wish for?" Now, when they were asked this question, I think almost all the contestants would say, "I wish for world peace." And then the audience would applaud very enthusiastically. So everyone understands that peace is a valuable, world peace is a very valuable thing to have. But what does it actually mean? So my teacher, Zen Master Song San, used to say, many world leaders say, "I want peace, I want peace, I want world peace." But what they actually mean is, "I don't want to lose my good situation, my powerful position." So, what many people think about peace is the ability to control their outside situation so that for them it's peaceful. But one person's peace isn't another person's peace. It may not be peaceful for the other person. For example, let's look at what's happening in Ukraine right now. On one side, the Russian president's idea of peace is to conquer and control the territory of Ukraine, the country of Ukraine. Then, I can have peace now, peace in Russia and Ukraine. But for the Ukrainians, that's not peace. They don't want that kind of peace. What they want is for the Russian invaders to get out of their country. Then they can have peace. So that's outside thinking ideas about peace. So violence and wars cannot create true peace. Whoever wins, the victors, they can maybe subdue the losers for some time. But the resentment and the hate is still there. And one day, it will burst out into the open when the losing side maybe sees a weakness in the victors. So you can look around the world, maybe look at the Middle East, look at the conflict in the Middle East. How long has that been going on for? So we humans have been here for about 300,000 years, our species Homo sapiens. And in that span of time, that's about 400 generations. We have advanced immensely, economically and materially. We have done very well for ourselves as a species in those terms, economics and material wealth. But how much have we advanced in terms of our humanity, our compassion, our kindness to others? I don't think it has advanced as the same rate as our economies or as our material wealth. So often when we think about peace, the idea of peace is an idea of external peace. And when we have that intellectual idea of peace, my idea of peace is not going to be the same as your idea of peace. So that's how these conflicts are very difficult to settle, because everybody's idea of peace is different. They want different things to arrive at peace. So if we want to make this world a more peaceful place, we need to become more peaceful people in ourselves. So the path to peace actually starts within us. We begin with inner peace and recognize the common humanity in each other, even in the people we don't like, even in the people that we consider our enemies. In the Bible, in the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus said, "Love thy enemy." So actually, it's in our interest for us to do everything we can for the well-being of all living creatures. If we do that, that means also, due to cause and effect, we also benefit from well-being. And to be able to practice this, we need to train our minds and educate our hearts. And this is possible if we practice. So Dalai Lama has lived in conflict, uh, or has experienced conflict for a long time. You know, he became the leader of Tibet when he was 15 in 1950. By that time, the Chinese army had already occupied Tibet. So he said when he was made Tibet's leader, he immediately lost his freedom as a teenager. He wasn't able to do what he wanted anymore. Then in 1959, he made a daring escape to India because he had some information that the Chinese army was going to capture him and take him to uh, Beijing as a prisoner and keep him there. So he escaped, avoiding all the camps over the Himalayas. Very, very difficult, very, very dangerous. So he was 24 at that time, and he became a refugee. He lost his country, and thanks to the generosity of the Indian government, he was allowed to set up his government in exile in Dharamsala. And he began many programs to take care of the Tibetan refugees who also escaped from Tibet to escape from the Chinese. So many years later, uh, he uh, met again an old monk called Lopon La, who was imprisoned by the Chinese when the Dalai Lama escaped Tibet. He was imprisoned for 18 years. So when Lopon La was finally released, he also went to India. And for almost 20 years the Dalai Lama had not seen him. So he was very concerned about his health, his well being. So to the Dalai Lama, he looked older, but physically okay. His mind was still sharp, even after so many years of being in prison, sometimes in solitary confinement. He was still a very gentle old monk. So he told the Dalai Lama about his experience. The Chinese wanted him to denounce Buddhism. He refused. They tortured him many times in prison. A lot of suffering. So Dalai Lama asked him, "Were you ever afraid?" Then Lobon La told him, "Yes, there was, there was one thing I was very afraid of. I was afraid that I might lose my compassion for the Chinese. I was afraid that I might lose my compassion for the Chinese." That's an incredible thing to learn. You know, he was tortured. He was. They tried to force him to renounce Buddhism, but he was afraid he might lose compassion for his enemies, those people that caused him so much suffering. So that really, truly is kind of like a mind of compassion, mind of forgiveness. So this forgiveness helped him in prison. Because of his compassion and forgiveness, his bad experience with the Chinese didn't affect him so badly. Mentally and emotionally, he didn't suffer so much. He knew he could not escape, so he had to. It was better for him. He knew it was better for him to accept reality for what it is rather than be traumatized by it. So it is possible through practicing forgiveness to not fall into hatred towards your prosecutors. So when we are able to see our captors not as enemies but as human beings, we can practice compassion and forgiveness towards them. Uh, Nelson Mandela, who I think most of you know, very famous for being the first black president of South Africa and a Nobel Prize winner for peace. Now, he fought against the apartheid government in South Africa, and he was jailed by them for 27 years in a tiny cell, not much bigger than most bathrooms. He slept on the concrete floor and was made to do hard labor, breaking rocks for 27 years. Can you imagine? That's like half most people's lifetimes. And anyway, he's eventually released and democratically elected as the first black president of South Africa. And when he won, many of his compatriots, those who fought against apartheid with him, wanted revenge on the white people who had oppressed and killed many of them. He said no. He told them, we have to forgive them, because he knew that if he allowed this revenge to take place, the whole country would sink into civil war. Blacks and whites would fight against each other, and there would be no peace. So, in order to have peace, he set up this incredible thing called the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. And he asked his good friend, Archbishop Desmond Tutu, another Nobel Peace Prize winner, to lead it. So this commission held hearings throughout South Africa. And during these hearings, their purpose was to listen, to gather evidence and to listen. So the victims told their stories to the commission full of heartbreak and pain of the atrocities that had been done to them and their loved ones. There was a lot of pain and suffering, and there was also a lot of crying. Archbishop Desmond Tutu said he cried so many times listening to these victims. But also the perpetrators, those people that committed these atrocities, were allowed to tell their what they did, the commission what they did, and they were not prosecuted for it. After they told their stories, which was voluntary, they were allowed to leave and live their lives as they chose. So what happened was that this commission helped to heal the country and bring about a reconciliation of South Africans by uncovering the truth about all these human rights violations that had occurred during the period of apartheid. They didn't try to get revenge. It was a form of forgiveness. So Nelson Mandela said, forgiveness liberates the soul. It removes fear. That's why it's such a powerful weapon. So if we want a peaceful heart, we must also learn to forgive and practice forgiveness in our lives. If we hold resentments, thoughts of wanting revenge, we can never have peace. So forgiveness and compassion are essential to us, to a peaceful heart. And this peace begins with us. It is inner peace that we have to cultivate first of all. Then when we have inner peace, we can begin to spread that peace outwards like the ripples of a pebble thrown into a pond. Venerable Mahagosananda, who's often referred to as the Gandhi of Cambodia, wrote about peace after he experienced the horrors of violence in his country during the time of Pol Pot, when I think over 1 million of his countrymen were slaughtered. So he said this, Cambodia has suffered deeply. From deep suffering comes deep compassion. From deep compassion comes a peaceful heart. From a peaceful heart comes a peaceful person. From a peaceful person comes a peaceful family and community. From peaceful communities come a peaceful nation. From peaceful nations come a peaceful world. So our inner path to peace begins with that deep compassion and a peaceful heart. And we need to practice it in the moment, because that also is part of this path of peace. If we can realize that in each moment we are already complete, not lacking in anything, we can experience peace. Because this very moment, right now, what are you lacking? Nothing. So, but we don't realize that because we have many wants, many expectations. So we never feel as if we are complete in this moment. So it's very difficult to experience peace. So if we have wanting, clinging, discontent, then we don't feel complete in this moment. So very difficult to experience peace. But our true nature is originally stillness and peace. And if we want to attain this, we need to practice letting our attachments rest. So really, there is no easy fix or quick way to peace. But if we're willing to make the effort, then we will find the rewards of having a peaceful heart very well worth it. So it's very important to realize that peace begins with us in this moment. And once we can attain that, we can begin to have peace flowing to others. So it all begins with us. So, okay, that's my sharing for tonight. Thank you very much for listening. Now, if you have any questions, please ask.
Okay. Yes, thank you very much, Sunim, for that very nice and beneficial guided meditation. Yes, we do have some questions.
Okay, good.
Brother Ray, can we display first question? Yeah. Could you please shed some light on the significance of Vishak Day in Buddhism?
Significance of Visa Day. Okay. Uh, Good question. So, in Korea, in the North Asian countries, we don't celebrate Visa. Okay, we actually celebrate Buddha's birthday, which is exactly 1 week earlier than Visa Day. So
Mhm.
Visa Day was arrived at, I think, at a meeting of many of the South Asian Buddhist leaders, and decided to make this day a day to celebrate the birth, enlightenment, and death of the Buddha. So it's like a 3-in-1
Yes.
celebration.
Yes.
Okay, so that's the Vesak Day, celebrating all three events in the Buddha's life. Okay, so um, in North Asia countries, they separate this out. So there's a day for the birth, a day for the enlightenment, and a day for his death. So so uh, that's really it. Of course, the significance of Vesak Day is that we recognize the Buddha's great teachings, his appearance in this world, his great teaching, his enlightenment, and his final passing, which are all also great teachings for all of us. So that's, in a nutshell, what Visa Day is. Okay.
Yes. 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 Thank you. Um, can we have second question, please? Yeah. Sanika?
Oh, okay. So my question was, how can one keep the focus on maintaining our pace when there is so much else going on in the world today, like war, violence, political instabilities, and all sorts of unrest?
Yeah, good question. It's difficult. Yeah, and it comes with practice. It's not, we're human. So humans, we should allow ourselves to have emotions. Like, uh, I'm sure you come across the Dalai Lama's talks and teachings uh, very often, and he always says, I cry whenever he watches the news on TV and something horrible happens. He's sad, very sad, because he reflects the suffering that is experienced by the people uh, that the news is about. Like when when Russia invaded Ukraine, first invaded Ukraine, yeah, I was very sad when I heard about it, and all the violence and the death. It was a very sad time, you know. So that's okay to feel sad. It's a human emotion. We're human. If you don't feel sad, then wow, what's happening to you? So it's not that we don't want to feel emotions, but how do we use our emotions to help us become better human beings, to access our humanity. There's one very interesting, I think, can't remember who. Oh yeah, it was about Mother Teresa. I saw. I think there was a recent documentary about Mother Teresa, of Calcutta, very famous. Anyway, in one of the sections of the documentary, one person said or asked the question, "Do you want your venerables to be venerable, or do you want them to be vulnerable and human? Which do you want?" Yeah, I know which one I would prefer to see in my uh, spiritual teachers. I would prefer them to be human and vulnerable. So when something, violence, war, political instability is happening in front of you, you're not going to be indifferent to it. But we recognize what is going on inside us. We feel upset, we feel unhappy. That's normal. But the practice is not to let that overwhelm us. Okay? The practice is to see that that is a normal reaction to bad stuff happening. Okay? And also to realize that this feeling, this emotion will come and it will go. It will appear and disappear. There is in science a 90-second rule. The neuroscientists have discovered it. And what it is that whenever we experience some unpleasant situation, our body reacts by releasing chemicals. Like if somebody comes up to us and threatens us with violence or something, or get out of here or punch you or something like that, we immediately, all our chemicals like adrenaline, cortisol, whatever, will get released by our brain, our body, and then we get into this fight or flight state. But in 90 seconds, these chemicals wash out. Okay, they wash out of our body, and then we will go back to normal. You can see that in animals, like you watch these nature movies, nature documentaries of the deer in the African savannah. When the tiger or the leopards or the lions start chasing them, they run like crazy. Okay, but when the tiger has caught its prey or the lion has caught its prey and eating, then the rest of the herd kind of just settles down and goes back to eating the grass almost instantaneously. So animals do not have this kind of instant replay in their minds like we do. When something we don't like happens to us, we play it over and over in our head. Why did they say that to me? Why did they threaten me? And every time we do that, we again release these stress chemicals into our body. Okay. Every time we think about it, we start the 90-second cycle all over again. And the interesting thing is, your brain or your body cannot distinguish an actual threat versus an imagined threat. Okay? You know itself. You think of something, I was so angry at her last week. You still feel the same body emotions because your body can't distinguish it. Even though you're imagining it, it's not real anymore. It still feels the same. So that's where our practice comes in, to recognize that actually when these negative, unpleasant thoughts appear in our head, they are mental events. They are not real. Okay, so then we can use perhaps like our breath and let that experience go. Then our mind comes back to what we call a neutral point, a point of stillness. Then we can see what we can do with the actual violence that's in front of us, or the actual whatever events in front of us. What can we do to help the situation? Okay, rather than get caught up in all this uh, thinking about it. Okay, so when we practice, very very quickly we see, oh, that's I'm experiencing that. That's okay. It'll go. Then, what do I really have to do? If you have clarity of mind, and if you have a certain groundedness, your centeredness in yourself, then you can start to see what you can do. Like, I have some Dharma brothers. I have a Dharma brother who's Ukrainian, and also another Dharma brother who's Polish. And very quickly after the war started, they went back. So one of them's actually in Ukraine itself now, and he's exposing himself to some danger. But he went there to help his own country people, and he's helping them by distributing medicines, also helping by teaching them uh, meditation techniques to reduce stress. So those are the sort of things you can do once you become more grounded. But if you get caught up in this like mind frenzy, it's very hard to be clear. So many things start from first having a calm and peaceful mind. All this stuff coming, yeah, it's all external. It's not nice. It's bad stuff. But what do you do? Okay.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah, sure. Welcome.
So,
So, next
another
question.
question that I had actually stems from a lot of interactions I've had with my peers, which is that teenagers today are so far away from any sort of spirituality or meditation or contemplative practices. And they often shy away from these practices. So, how can we introduce it in a way that they do not reject it or step away from it?
Good question. I think some teenagers actually are kind of attracted to practice if you, I guess, introduce it in a way that is kind of fun for them, should I say. So, like in the Western countries, they have already introduced mindfulness meditations in many schools. Uh, some of them in these very very poor districts of the US. And what they find is that it really helps the school kids. These are children who are uh, like 10 or young teenagers. And what they found is they're less disruptive after they practice some mindfulness. They are less disruptive in class. They are more attentive and they're able to focus more. And also they get along with each other better. So I think there are many techniques that you can use for young people. Just don't make it like strict and tight, and don't make it too long, because teenagers have a lot of energy. They want to do stuff. They want to jump around. So you have to kind of modify the practice of mindfulness so that it suits their lifestyle and make it attractive for them. Show them the benefits. So usually when you check out, you can find a lot of these on YouTube. These teachers talking about mindfulness meditations in schools and all that. But what you see is they don't do it very long, very short, like 5 minutes or 10 minutes, because that's enough. You know, that's enough for benefit. That's also enough for a taste, so they don't get bored. So when you start to do that, and the students themselves, the teenagers themselves experience the benefits, then they will want more. They'll see that actually in schools the grades also improve. They can see I'm actually doing better at school. This is helpful. Actually, I wish I had known some meditation when I was young, and I wouldn't have failed some of my exams. So yeah, it's very very helpful, but you just have to kind of present it in a way that is not so traditional. Yeah. So actually, a lot of these Western mindfulness organizations have managed to do that. They have managed to make it interesting and fun for these young teenagers. So, if you want, you can. I think it's good if you check that out. And so, yeah, and also the other thing about teenagers is that their brain is not fully developed, especially this prefrontal cortex, this part which deals with cognition and decision making. So that's why teenagers do some dangerous and wild things. And we think, why are they so crazy? That's because they're teenagers. Their brains haven't fully developed. So we should expect it of them, okay, and not punish them for that. So we must understand that it is a process of growing up. I was also like that when I was a teenager. I'm sure, probably, you know, most of teenagers are also. So yeah, so we must understand teenage mind also, teenage brain development, okay, and uh, modify the practice of meditation for that. Okay, okay,
Thank you.
okay.
Um, the next question which we have is, how can we, by meditating together online like this, benefit the world by spreading our inner peace, love, and equanimity around the globe? Is this possible practically and scientifically? How could we quantitatively measure the results of the meditation?
Wow, good question. Long question. Uh, okay, so as I said before, it all starts with us, with this inner peace. So that's very important, because if you don't have this inner peace, this stillness of mind, it's you can't actually spread it out throughout the world. If you look at, like, the greatest example is the Buddha. Okay, one man, a human being. Okay, he 2,565 years ago, he was born 2,565 years ago. Then he attained enlightenment, and for more than 2,000 years, he's been able to influence millions of us in practicing. He was able to benefit us, benefit the world, to help us from suffering, to reduce our suffering. So it starts with us individually. If we can practice, I'm not saying that you should, do the extreme practices that the Buddha did, but if you practice sincerely and with uh, the right motivation, then your Dharma light, your inner light will shine, and people will be influenced by that. So whether we do it online or in person, actually, I don't think makes a big difference, because it starts with you. So first, practice, then your inner light gets brighter, brighter, brighter. Then it can shine like the Buddha shines throughout the world. Yeah, that's the symbolism of the lotus lanterns with the light of the Buddha's Dharma shining throughout the world. Okay. Oh, one more question.
Yes, the last question which we have: how
Okay.
can meditation help to heal the wounds and traumas of the victims of wars and violence?
Yeah. So, good question. Yeah, war and violence inflict a big trauma on those people that have experienced it, whether it's physically, also mentally, like PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. So it causes a lot of suffering. So what they've found scientifically is that the practice of like MBSR, mindfulness-based stress reduction, does help. So if there is someone who experienced this physical or mental trauma, they can do the MBSR course, learn the techniques. It's an 8-week course, and then it can help. It's been scientifically proven. It's been kind of peer reviewed, tested for so many years already. I think it's almost like 40 years since John Kabat-Zinn developed the program. So now it's in slightly different forms also. But yeah, it's been this form of mindfulness-based stress reduction shown to help. So that can be very helpful. So don't just go to do your any old meditation. You have to learn the correct techniques. Just as you have a certain illness, you have to take the right sort of medicine. You can't take a headache medicine for cancer. Okay, you have to take cancer medicine. So very important is to find the right form of meditation program for to help this kind of trauma. And I would like to warn you that it is not a magic pill. Okay, just like any medicine doesn't work for everybody. Even antidepressants work only for 50% of people. Okay, so it can help, but you have to do it and try it and see if it does help you. Okay.
Yes,
All right.
thank you.
Sure.
Yes, yes, Sunil?
Nope, that's it. That's the end of my answer.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. Yes, we had a very wonderful session tonight. And okay, so we have some upcoming events which I want to announce. We are going to start our Mindful Politics series. This will be part one: War, Peace, and Dharma Practice. This will be moderated by Dr. Christy Chang, and the contributors will be Dr. Oleg Yatsenko from Ukraine, Vivek Sharma from Nepal, even Evgeny Buzyatov from Russia. Sorry for the pronunciation. I hope our audience will be tuning in this time. And then I think yes, we reached our end of our meditation session. So Sanika.
So, just before we move on to the dedication, Sunim, if you have any last words you would like to share with us on this topic.
Um, well, I just wish you all practice this peace of mind inside, and then I hope you find your peacefulness that you're all looking for. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So, we now end with the four great vows.
Okay.
Sentient
So,
beings.
so numberless, we vow to save them all. Delusions are endless. We vow to cut through them all. The teachings are infinite. We vow to learn them all. The Buddha way is inconceivable. We vow to attain it. May all beings be well, happy, and safe. Thank you all for joining us tonight, and thank you for
Thank you.
your moderation. Thank you.
Thank you, Sunim. Thank you very much.